During my first few months in Canada, I noticed a lot of differences in the culture, food, and lifestyle. I have met people from a variety of origins and cultures. Adapting to cultural differences may require some time and effort, even though most Canadians are friendly and welcoming to newcomers. In this video, I wanted to share my thoughts and personal experiences of 10 culture shocks of moving to Canada from the Philippines and the UAE. First, let's define culture shock. Culture shock refers to the feeling when one experiences a cultural environment that is different than what they are used to. Though I may have already been in Canada for 5 years, the shock of being here has taken time to manifest itself. Culture shock does not occur as immediately as the term might suggest. No single event or even a series of events will result in this condition. It takes time. Experiencing culture shock is completely normal. You have traveled a long way to arrive in Canada, leaving behind not only family and friends but also the culture you have grown up with. Culture shock is particularly common in the early part of your Canadian journey, and over time you will come to be more comfortable with your life in Canada. This is one of the surprising facts about Canada. It's not common to do transactions in paper bills. Credit cards is strongly encouraged in order for you to have a good credit score. Credit score is very important because this is your ticket to be eligible for any loans like car and house loans. Debit or credit cards are widely used. I eventually realized how convenient to make transactions just by a single tap in card payment machine instead of paying cash. As for the Canadian paper bill, one thing that's amazed me, it's water and tear proof. Isn't that cool? One of my first culture shocks was my introduction to the HST or the Harmonized Sales Tax. From clothing to dining to groceries, everything is about tax. Back home, everything is tax inclusive, so that was a huge shock. Also, the tipping culture is also a big deal here in Canada, unlike in the other countries I lived in the past. Tipping etiquette in Canada can be confusing for new residents and visitors. In Canada, tipping is expected for most service industries. You'll be considered rude if you don't tip employees at restaurants, in the hospitality industry, or at hair salons. If coffee shops or food chains have drive-thrus, then why not ATM? This was mind-blowing. I'm so surprised when I encountered this the first time. I find it so convenient and smart. I remember in Dubai and the Philippines, Tim Hortons was always busy and was an it place. In Canada, Tim Hortons is like a Jollibee because you can see Tim Hortons on every corner. Currently, there are over 4,300 Tim Hortons locations in Canada alone, out of 4,932 worldwide. I realized that it's not a lavish cafe, but it's the official Canadian coffee shop, and it's quite affordable compared with Starbucks, probably one of the cheapest coffee shops in Canada. So here's a trivia. When you come to Canada and order your coffee in Timmy's, you must be aware of Double Double. It is the most ordered coffee. It's a Canadian favorite of 2 shots of cream and 2 shots of sugar with a classic brewed coffee, giving the right creaminess and sweetness to your coffee. Milk in a plastic bag? Yes, one of the oddest Canadian inventions I've discovered in Canada, and it really blew my mind. All I could think about was how much of a mess will it cost me to enjoy the milk from a plastic bag. It may be more affordable, but in my opinion, it's just a hassle. But since I need to be more practical with my groceries, I still patronize this product and just use a Canadian hack. Voila! This is another amazing feature that I wish most countries have. This only explains how disciplined and honest Canadians are. Checking out your own groceries is so convenient, most especially when you only shop for few items. This is another culture shock experience, but in a very nice way. In the Philippines, it's very common to have a security personnel in any school premises, but here in Canada, security guards never exist in schools, shopping malls, or even in the banks. But even without any presence of security guards, people still feel safe. That's the uniqueness of living in Canada. It has a strong presence of safety and security. So how do schools keep your kids safe? Well, Canada has a locked door policy during school hours. This has been an initiative to make school safer for kids. If you're a parent, you can just enter the building anytime you want. Schools has their systems or protocols in accepting visitors. Also, every Ontario school board is required to conduct a lockdown drill in place that is practiced at least twice a year at both the elementary and secondary levels. And here are my top 3 shocking discoveries about Canada. Bidets or even a handheld bidet spray are not a thing in Canada. Back in the UAE and the Philippines, whether it's a public bathroom or a private one, a bidet is found everywhere. This is an integral part of building a bathroom in every home. So arriving in Canada and realizing it doesn't really exist came as a bit inconvenience to me. During the pandemic, Canada even had a shortage of toilet tissue. People panic and hoard a lot of it. If only they rely with the superpowers of bidet or even a bidet spray, there will be no toilet tissue shortage for sure. Canada is massive. The incredible size of Canada makes driving even just to the next town quite a journey. Driving across Canada from the Atlantic to the Pacific coast is like flying to a foreign country. No wonder why most Canadians haven't explored their own country yet. Most Canadians tend to travel to another country instead of visiting other Canadian provinces since the airfare ticket is way cheaper than local flights. In my 5 years of stay, I've only gone in Ontario and Quebec by land travel. Driving from Ottawa to Toronto takes 4.5 hours, while driving to Quebec from Ottawa takes at least 5 hours. It's quite a long road trip. At least there's no bad traffic here, unlike in Manila. Cannabis is legal. This is one of the surprising aspects of life in Canada as a newcomer. You can buy cannabis in specialized stores all over Canada. You can even buy it online or grow your own. You will get used to the noticeable smell in some public places. There's even a strong presence of cannabis shops. Sometimes it's quite disturbing because some shops are even close to schools. Anyway, these were the 10 biggest culture shock I've experienced when I moved to Canada. Thank you again for joining me as I've shared my personal experiences. How about you? Do you know some interesting facts or culture shock you've experienced in Canada? It's interesting to hear your thoughts, so please do leave your comment on this video. So see you again in my next episode.